The sound of clanging tools and the smell of engine oil filled the small-town garage. David, a hard-working mechanic, was tightening a bolt on an old pickup truck. His daughter, Emily, sat on a stool nearby, swinging her legs and sketching an engine diagram on a notepad. Emily wasn't like other girls her age. Instead of spending her afternoons on the phone or hanging out with friends, she preferred to be in the garage, watching her father fix cars. She knew the names of most tools and could identify the problem in a car just by listening to its engine. Her father had taught her everything he knew, and she soaked it all up like a sponge. That afternoon, a black SUV pulled up to the garage. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Mr. Carson, the owner of the garage and David's boss. He was a tall man with a strict face and a habit of looking down on people. He walked in with his usual air of importance, carrying a small folder in his hand. "David," Mr. Carson called out, "I've got something special for you today." Two men rolled in a dusty old race car from the back of a trailer. Its once shiny paint was scratched and faded, and the engine looked like it hadn't run in years. "This," Carson said, patting the hood, "is an impossible job. I've already had 3 different mechanics try to fix it, and none of them could get it to run. It's a waste of time." He smirked, clearly enjoying the idea that even his best men had failed. Emily stepped closer, her eyes scanning the car like she was reading a mystery book. "What's wrong with it?" she asked. Carson glanced at her, raising an eyebrow. Well, David's little helper wants to know. "Sweetheart, this engine is beyond saving. Even your father can't do it. You think you can?" His voice carried a mix of sarcasm and challenge. David frowned. "Mr. Carson, she's just—" Before he could finish, Emily spoke up. "I can try." The garage went quiet. A few mechanics in the back started chuckling under their breath. One of them whispered, "She's gonna get her hands dirty for nothing." Another said, "This should be funny." Mr. Carson grinned, clearly amused. "All right then, if you think you've got what it takes, be my guest. But I'll tell you right now, it's a waste of your time." He crossed his arms and stepped back. David knelt down beside his daughter. "Emily, you don't have to do this just to prove something." She smiled confidently. "I want to. Engines talk if you listen. I think I can hear this one." With her father's reluctant nod, Emily picked up a pair of gloves and a wrench. She popped the hood and leaned in, her eyes moving over the tangle of metal, wires and tubes. She could see rust eating at the bolts, frayed wires hanging loose, and a timing belt that was out of place. "Someone's worked on this before," she murmured, "but they didn't understand it." First she started cleaning the parts, carefully brushing away dust and debris. Then she inspected the wiring, tracing each line like a detective following clues. The garage had gone mostly quiet now, except for the faint clink of her tools. Even the mechanics who had laughed earlier began watching her with interest. Hours passed. Emily removed the spark plugs, replaced broken wires, tightened bolts, and cleaned the carburetor. At one point, she asked her father to hand her a specific tool, and he realized she wasn't just tinkering. She was rebuilding the engine in the correct order, step by step. Carson occasionally walked by, pretending not to care, but he kept glancing over, curious. He noticed she wasn't wasting time guessing. She seemed to know exactly what she was doing. By late afternoon, Emily's hands were greasy and her hair was messy, but her eyes shone with determination. She adjusted the timing belt and reconnected the battery. She double-checked every step in her mind. David brought her a bottle of water. "You've been at it for hours," he said softly. "You sure you're not tired?" She shook her head. "Not until it runs." The mechanics in the garage had stopped working on their own projects and were standing a few feet away, watching her. Nobody was laughing now. Emily wiped her hands on a rag and took a deep breath. "Okay," she said. "I think it's ready." Mr. Carson walked over, smirking. "Ready for what? To prove me right?" Emily didn't answer. She just walked around to the driver's side, slid into the seat, and placed her hand on the key. The entire garage seemed to hold its breath. Emily's small hands gripped the steering wheel, her eyes fixed on the dashboard. She turned the key slowly. For a moment, there was only a low clicking sound. A few mechanics smirked, thinking the car would stay dead. But then, with a deep rumble, the engine coughed, once, twice, and then roared to life. The sound was strong, smooth, and powerful, as if the car had been asleep for years and had just woken up. The vibrations traveled through the floor, and the smell of burning dust filled the air. Every single person in the garage froze. The laughter, the doubt, it all vanished in an instant. Mr. Carson's jaw actually dropped. "No, no way," he muttered, walking closer. "That's impossible." Emily stepped out of the driver's seat, wiping her greasy hands on a rag. "It's not impossible," she said calmly. "It just needed someone to listen to it." David stood there stunned, pride and disbelief mixing on his face. He'd always known his daughter was gifted, but watching her bring a dead engine back to life, one even seasoned mechanics couldn't fix, was something else entirely. One of the mechanics who had laughed earlier shook his head in amazement. "I've been working here for 12 years. I've never seen anything like that." Carson circled the car, inspecting every detail. What did you do?" he demanded. Emily explained in simple terms. The wiring was wrong. Whoever worked on it before connected the ignition coil to the wrong circuit. The fuel lines were clogged, and the timing belt was off by 2 notches. It just needed a deep, clean, correct wiring and timing adjustment. The engine wasn't broken, it was misunderstood. Her words carried a quiet confidence that made everyone listen. Carson rubbed the back of his neck, still looking at the car like it was a ghost. "You realize I had 3 professional mechanics try to fix this, and you're telling me you figured it out in one afternoon?" Emily shrugged. "Sometimes you need fresh eyes and patience." The garage filled with murmurs of admiration. A few of the mechanics even clapped. David walked over and put his hand on Emily's shoulder. "You did good, kid. Real good." His voice cracked slightly, and Emily could see how proud he was. Carson, who wasn't known for giving compliments, looked at Emily with a mixture of respect and something else, maybe regret for underestimating her. "Emily," he said slowly, "from this day forward you're welcome in my garage any time. If you ever want a job here, you'll have it." Emily smiled politely. "Thank you, but I'm still in school. For now I just like helping my dad." Carson chuckled. "Well, whenever you're ready, the door's open." News of what happened traveled quickly. By the next morning, people in town were talking about the girl who fixed the impossible engine. Customers came into the garage asking to meet her. Some even brought their cars, hoping she'd be the one to look at them. One afternoon, a man from a local racing club stopped by. He had heard the story and wanted Emily to inspect one of their vehicles. She agreed, and soon she was spending weekends helping fine-tune engines for the club's races. David watched all this with pride, but also with a little worry. He didn't want his daughter to be overwhelmed, but Emily handled it well. She stayed humble, always reminding people she was still learning. A week later, Carson called everyone in the garage together. He stood next to the same race car Emily had fixed. "I want everyone to remember something," he said, looking around. "Sometimes talent comes from where you least expect it. Don't ever assume someone can't do something because of their age, size, or gender." Emily proved us all wrong. The mechanics nodded in agreement. Emily felt her cheeks warm but smiled anyway. From that day forward, whenever she walked into the garage, no one doubted her. They greeted her like one of their own, because she had earned it. One evening, as they were locking up, David turned to his daughter. "You know, when I was your age, I never thought I'd see someone fix that engine. I guess I was wrong." Emily laughed softly. "I guess engines and people aren't so different, Dad. Sometimes they just need someone to believe in them." David looked at her, his eyes shining with pride. "You're going to go far, Emily. I can feel it." And deep down, Emily knew this was only the beginning. She hadn't just fixed an engine, she had changed how people saw her, and that was something no one could take away.